I want people to know that like Katey is not just some like dead soul behind her eyes that's like like she genuinely to me seems okay and seems happy. And if people don't want to hear me say that, then that's their own issue, you know. But yeah, there were a lot of there were a lot of cows around in the back. Yeah. Katey and like my side of family, like a lot of them probably might not even see the fact that I'm doing this interview with you. And some of them might actually get mad that I am. But
Hey guys, it's Katey. I have Katey Nakatsu's brother, Reed.
Nakatsu, yeah.
Nakatsu joining me today, and he wanted to share and clear up some rumors about his sister, who is Jed Duggar's new wife. Yes, the Jedding 2021 went down in Arkansas. Reed was there. He's actually shared quite a few photos on Instagram, and he contacted me yesterday and wanted to talk. So hello, Reed.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm very good. It's a beautiful morning in LA.
Nice. It's raining here in Minnesota. So
yeah.
What is, I guess, where do we even start? You reached out and wanted to clear things up.
Yeah, you know, I've had a lot of people obviously reaching out to me. Like my Instagram is, you know, public. I made it private for a second, obviously, because it was getting so much attention for that, which really shocked me, to be honest. I was not aware of how much attention the Duggar family did. You know, I've actually never watched the show. I've never seen it. But obviously I don't like, you know, it's a lot of stuff that people are saying. It's such or not correct information.
Mm-hmm.
And so me being separated from that part of the world, I guess I'm like, you know, probably my perspective is a clear one, and people would enjoy or kind of want to know actually the truth of what's going on, you know, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So yeah, like I'm definitely happy to clear up some questions, you know, that people have or that you might have that people are curious about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the wedding, your sister Katey is your half sister, correct?
She is my half sister, yeah.
Okay, and you are older than her, right?
I am.
Okay, so you guys were raised together for a period of time, and then your parents got divorced?
Yes. So Corey, her father, was my stepdad for probably almost 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I obviously grew up with Katey and Lauren as well. And then when my mom and stepfather separated, then I saw them half the time, you know.
Did Katey, when you guys were growing up with Corey, was he very religious, and was he Christian?
Yeah, so we were Christian. Corey has always been somebody that's been very religious. He definitely, and you know, I want to say, made my mom and my older sister and Jamie, like we all were a part of that as well. It definitely, I wouldn't say it was an unhealthy type of Christian, you know what I mean? It wasn't too heavy, but yeah, we were always raised very religious. We were even, you know, we were LDS Mormon for a couple of years. He had met somebody at work that kind of talked to him about the church, and I think, you know, we tried that out. I think that Corey was really trying to find the best place or the best fit in his life where he related with God the most and did that. So yeah, we did try the LDS church for a while, and we're Christian. Yeah. So
a couple of weeks ago, I got this random message from someone that is friends with your mom, and they said that the divorce was somehow related to your mom still wanting to be Mormon. Is she still practicing Mormon?
No.
Okay.
No, and I don't think that information is actually correct, to be honest with you. I don't think religion had any play in the divorce whatsoever at all. You know, my mom is still a woman of faith. My mom is still like a practicing Christian. I don't think, and I mean, obviously being Mormon is not, I personally wouldn't, because I'm not religious at all. You know what I mean? Being raised up very, very religious in that way. I currently am not at all. My mom believes in God. My mom is a practicing Christian. the divorce had nothing to do with religion whatsoever. I think that they just had, differences.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was Katey with your mom or with Corey most of the time after the divorce?
It was 50-50.
It was 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she might have spent a little bit more time with her dad because he decided to homeschool her. In the divorce, how that worked out, my dad kind of had a little bit, or my stepfather, Corey, had a little bit more say, I think, when it came to education. My mom was healthcare. I think that was kind of how things split up in that. And so the decision ultimately for him was to homeschool them. I think the girls at first were like kind of skeptical about it, but in the end, I think that they actually really enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Was your mom familiar with the ATI, which I believe is what they went through?
I think that she is, to be honest with you. I really think that when it came down to like how it works and the fundamentals of that, I mean, I think my mom really just trusted Corey and that side of deciding to homeschool them. My mom was very supportive in it. She kind of helped with that, but that really, I think Corey really took over a lot of that. But the girls loved it. You know what I mean? They seemed to really enjoy that. I obviously didn't go to homeschooling or do any of that. I loved public school. I kind of was one that was like, hey, public school is how you meet people and how you become social and how you be a little bit normal. So obviously I've always had that input over on the side. But yeah, I mean, the girls kind of loved it. And my mom knew, it never seemed odd, you know what I mean, that they were being homeschooled. I personally kind of think that homeschooling is an interesting concept because, like I said, I think that's kind of where you make a kid, right? Is in high school, you have those experiences, you meet people, you kind of learn how to be social.
Well, yeah. And she seemed to be in middle school and she loved it. And she was, seemed to have a pretty normal childhood, going on vacations and wearing pants and being very normal, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's funny the way that you say like normal. I think people have different definitions of normal. Like, do I see that as like women not wearing pants and doing all that? Do I see that personally as normal? Obviously not. But who am I to judge how people want to live their life? You know what I mean? Like, they seem happy and they love that, well. I don't know a better way to say it.
So your parents, like your mom, wasn't familiar like with the ATI, because the ATI, I think this is the biggest thing, is that's through the IBLP, which is the Institutes and Basic Life Principles, which is a cult that was run by Bill Gothard, who has 34 women that have accused him of SA. And this is a man that your stepfather had your sister going to these, journey to the hearts, sitting in an office with him with a known, I mean, he might not have known at the time, but it seems like this sort of getting into the ATI, which is the curriculum isn't necessarily the most balanced, or there's a lot of holes in that curriculum, but it's how they get people into the cult. And she went to this journey to the heart, and she's in an office with this guy that's horrible. And then they start getting really involved in this. Did something change where he had been not as conservative and then it became more conservative?
I think that, and you use the word cult, and it's really funny because I honestly believe that you even know a little bit more about that than I really do, to be honest with you. What I will say is that, and I'm giving my opinion based on how I know my sisters and how I know my family and how I know, like I said, you seem to be even a little bit more educated about that.
Yeah. And nobody here is like saying your sister is a bad person.
Yeah.
She was a child. She was a child.
And I can definitely say that if that is a part of that group, in basic life principles, whatever, I think that there's probably some degrees of separation with that, which has gone on, like Gothard and like all that kind of thing. I really don't know enough to speak on it to be like how involved he was in everyone else's lives that were a part of it. Like, I really don't know all of that. What I can say is that typically when I think of like of a cult, and like, I always find that kind of stuff very interesting, being like in the Mormon church a little bit. And like I said, I'm not really religious anymore, at all. Not really religious anymore. I'm not religious at all. I would say that when I think of people that are in a cult or in something like that, I would see things that are odd, or I would see people acting strange, or maybe see somebody in pain, like through their eyes. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people commented on photos saying, I can see Katey's eyes and she looks dead inside already, like blah, blah, blah. Like, I spent so much time with those girls and I never, ever saw that. You know what I mean? Like, I never saw them looking like help or like we're in pain or this. Like they always have just been like really strong women of faith and always believed in that. And, you know, they were never preachy with me, but they always seemed very happy. You know what I mean? Like it didn't seem, I didn't look at my sisters and see like cult, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, well, the cult teaches girls and children to be joyful all the time. So that's kind of a part of their teaching, but we don't have to spend tons of time in that. Obviously, we want to talk about your sister. So she got involved in all this, but was still spending time with you guys and was with your family, and it didn't really overlap, is what you're saying? Like, no,
not at all. I mean, you know, I think when there's divorce in the family and, you know, they are my sisters, I've always looked at them like they're my full sisters, but ideally they're not, or actually, you know what I mean? So there was, you know, they would spend time with their fathers. So did I know every single thing that was going on in their life when they weren't with us? No, I didn't. And, you know, as I got older and I moved to California, I was like doing my own life, which was obviously very different from theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, you know, nothing ever stood out as being, is the word that I'm looking for, I guess, like concerning.
Sure.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like nothing, I never sit here and thought like, oh my gosh, my sisters are being raised in a cult. Like what is going on? You know, and that never really happened. It didn't like conflict. You know, my mom has always been supportive of my lifestyle and who I am and loves me. And then has been also supportive of theirs as well. You know what I mean? And kind of
your mom seems like a wonderful lady. Like
my mom is amazing and couldn't be a better person.
Yeah. I was like looking at a lot of her social media and she just seems so positive and
yeah, she's great, you know, and to be a mom that has daughters that have their faith and believe in what they do, and then to have, you know, as people say, a flaming liberal gay brother in Los Angeles, you know what I mean? And to be super supportive of that as well. Like it's, you know, it's beautiful. And I think sometimes she wonders like, oh, how is this all going to play out together? You know, I think that I was probably the biggest picture, especially with this wedding. It's like, how is this going to like go down? But
yes. I mean, really, there was a lot of there was a lot of aspects to this wedding that were very intriguing to people. One is that your parents, or Katey's dad and her mom, are divorced, which is, I think, a first for this any of the kids getting married to someone that has divorced parents. I know that Austin's dad, one of the in-laws, Joy's husband, his dad was married previously, but his parents are still married. So the divorce was like intriguing to people because that's not typical in that world.
Yeah.
And then there was you, the gay brother, right? Hey, which fans love, right? Because they want to see that. And then there's also this aspect that Corey is his dad's side of the family is Japanese. So there was all of these like layers that were unique to the situation that were very intriguing to people. And it was very different. And then there was this whole aspect of Katey's dad at the wedding, basically saying like, he had her say that he could pick the guy for her or something like that. And that really confused.
Yeah, I think, let me like bullet point all of those things. First of all, Corey is not Japanese at all. Corey was adopted into a Japanese family growing up.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so let me just clarify that up really quick. No one has no background of Japanese. Corey was adopted into a Japanese family as a child. So that's kind of where all that, so no one has any Japanese origin. That's where the last name comes from, is he was adopted into a Japanese family.
Okay.
There's anything wrong with me saying that, right?
No.
Yeah, I just think everyone's like shocked about that because it's so funny. People are like, oh yeah, you can tell she looks Japanese. And I'm over here laughing because I'm like, no one is actually Japanese.
Okay. So he was adopted. Got it.
Yeah. So he was adopted into a Japanese family. As far as me being into the wedding, like I said, you know, I've always been a little bit different than that side of the family, Katey and Lauren, but like they've always been my sisters. I've always loved them. They've always loved me. They've never made me feel any less of a person by being a gay man ever. And so I think it was natural, and it would have been odd if I wasn't invited to the wedding. Yeah. I actually was more shocked later when I was reading what people were kind of saying, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Jim Bob and all them and like Michelle, you know, that they were fine with Reed coming to the wedding. It's like they were such a joy to be around and they were so pleasant and nice to me. So I really was shocked by seeing people so shocked by that. Everybody was really great. Like there was nothing negative, and I'm not gonna, you know, be that person. I feel like a lot of people, I even received some messages of some people being like, you know, how could you be a gay like supporter and LGBTQ supporter, and then going there and not standing up for yourself or saying things. And it's like, there was nothing to stand up for. You know what I mean? And I am very pro-gay, and I am somebody that's out there standing up for that. And there was nothing negative to say about them. They didn't make me feel any different. They didn't treat me badly. They were sweet. You know, even Michelle like was like, hey, you know, like we'd love for you to come back out here and, you know, come back up to Arkansas. Like everybody was really nice. So it was really a shock to me to see people think that it wouldn't have gone that way, or that, you know, and like I said, I haven't watched the show. I haven't heard what people have said about them and how the Duggars feel about homosexuality. But I can tell you that like in my personal experience, like they weren't negative or they weren't horrible to me. They didn't look at me weird. No one treated me any different.
Yeah,
like,
I think the history with them is that she's done robocalls about transgender bathrooms. Their churches are very anti-gay. They have been very vocal in the past about not supporting the LGBTQ plus. And so, you know, I don't think people would expect them to be like mean to you, because their religion is that they're like nice to everyone. It's more like the judgment that they expect, like underneath it, you know, like that silent, like judging kind of thing. But
yeah. And I guess what I'm trying to put is like, regardless of their beliefs, I mean, every religion has their belief. I mean, that's why I choose to not be a part of it, obviously. I could be the same exact person and sit here and say, you know, I don't agree with religion or being a part of this, and I could be judgy and be kind of weird, you know, as much of into the, I guess, the gay world that I'm in, I could just as easily be somebody that's like, y'all are crazy, you know what I mean? Like, but I choose not to do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like they didn't do that with me. And that's all. I mean, when it really comes down to it, family's family, love is love. I think that's how we want the world to be, right? Like in an ideal world, we want people to be that way, and we don't always agree with each other. And I want to express also that, like, by me saying this, like, I am I'm obviously a flaming homo, you know, in West Hollywood, California. So, and I'm very supportive of my side of the world, but I'm not going to claim that somebody was acting or treating me in a different way than they were. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think anyone expected them to be like mean to you.
Well, I guess the shocker with that too is that they, like, in a way almost made me feel welcome to come back later. You know what I mean? To meet them. So it wasn't like, oh, let's get this wedding over with and then we don't have to be around him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like at all. I even spent, you know, time with Jed. Like on Christmas, I met him with my family. He came out to Arizona. And I spent time with him on Christmas. Like, great guy. You know what I mean? Like, reading a lot of stuff about what people are saying, it was just really shocking to me, because I'm like, this is not the person that I met or made me feel like that. You know, a lot of people are like, you know, Jed is like, how does Reed feel with his sister marrying a man that's a raging homophobe? Like, if he is, he doesn't show it. You know what I mean? He didn't act that way.
The public just has a very long history with the Duggars. So obviously they have
much longer than I do.
Yeah. And a lot of the things that they've said or done in the media that have been homophobic. And, you know, she specifically did these like robocalls telling people that all people that are transgender are predators. And, you know, they just have these really bad beliefs about it. So I think.
Yeah. And I obviously don't agree with those statements. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. But I don't think people would expect them to be like rude to you. I feel like they would probably invite you over to try to convert you, but that's just my opinion.
Good luck.
Okay. So they're not Japanese and they were nice to you at the wedding. What was the wedding like?
It was beautiful. It was quick. You know what I mean? It wasn't that long. Let's talk about how you were saying Corey said the whole, like, you promised me that I would find the right man for you.
Yes. Because he also wrote a blog about like biblical betrothal and.
Yeah. You know, I'm not going to claim that to know too much about that. I can tell you that the marriage, to my knowledge, okay, and the perspective that I was receiving, like, I know that Jed and Katey, like, that was not an arranged marriage. Like, they weren't like hooked up by their parents to kind of make that happen. The love that they have for each other is obviously very genuine, very sincere. You can see it when you're with them and no one's looking how they treat each other. And, you know, they're both obviously very attractive people. I think they're both very attracted to each other. Or I know that they are. As far as it being an arranged marriage, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying like, oh, it was arranged. When I don't, you know, and the thing is that Corey always had a way of like saying things that he didn't necessarily mean when, like, if that makes sense. Like, I don't necessarily think that in that statement he was trying to be like, I found the perfect man for you, Katey. Like, I don't know. Like, can I be 100% honest and say, like, a lot of when they talk in scripture and like that kind of like all tongues to me, like, I don't really,
yeah,
I don't really follow. Like, I didn't even pick up the arranged thing, and that's what he was saying until people were commenting on it later. I can tell you it wasn't an arranged marriage.
You did say that the dads kind of wanted it to happen though, right?
So what I was saying is, do I think that, like, do I think the dads were like, hey, these two are a perfect fit for each other? Like, what parent doesn't see somebody and say, hey, I think that guy might be the perfect fit for my daughter? Like, did they kind of maybe want that to happen? I guess. But like, I don't think that they didn't actually like, hey, this is going to be your husband and this is going to be your wife and we're going to make this happen. Like, I know that didn't play, and if it came across that way, or if it looks that way, that didn't happen. And it wasn't necessarily like arranged, if that makes sense. Like, when I think of arranged,
they would have, like, well, in this cult, just so you know, like the dads would typically like come together and talk about a match, and they would like pray about it together and decide if it would be good for them. I mean, that's kind of how these courtship works. The parents are very, very involved in them.
Yeah, so I guess what I can say to make it make sense, if there was any point, and I know this, if there was any point that Katey was like, hey, I don't think this guy's a match for me, it's not like it would have been forced. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the way that their religion works and that's how it is, like, then it happened to work out really well and they actually do really like each other. Not that I'm supportive of something being arranged in that kind of a way, but I can say that, like, there's no doubt in my mind that Katey wasn't in love with Jed, or that she wasn't happy to marry him, or that they weren't a good match. Like I said, like, the love was very pure and genuine. Even with Jed not being around his family at all and only being around my family, which is like my mom, my sister, you know what I mean? The marriage was, I mean, the love between the two of them was very, very obvious. And so what I'm trying to say is, it's like, if any time Katey or them had decided, hey, you know, like, this isn't the person for me, it would have been like, okay, you know what I mean?
So when they were like with you guys, were they with like chaperones?
Yeah, I think that Lauren, you know, that whole kind of thing is funny to me, like the courting thing. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What year are we in, right? Like, it's different to me. But yeah, I think Lauren maybe was a little bit. My younger sister Lauren, I think, was a chaperone for that.
Like, no kissing or touching or anything? Nothing?
No, you know, and to each their own, I guess. You know, like, I personally like look at it, I'm like, hey, that's a little crazy for me. You know, like, I probably couldn't marry somebody that I never kissed before and do anything. But at the same time, like, maybe it's because I'm like, damn, I wish that someone liked me that way, you know, and didn't want to dive into my pants right away. I don't know, you know, but.
So Jed was, how was Jed with the family?
He was great. Like, he's a funny, likable guy. Like, I really, truly have nothing negative to say about him. You know, I really don't. And, you know, I'm somebody that's like straight up, like, hey, if I felt a certain way, I'd be like, hey, you know, if I felt that he was any type of different or negative in a way, like, he really was a really great guy to be around. And like, I actually had like a sigh of relief when I met him, and I was like, okay, my sister's marrying this guy, you know, and he happens to be a part of this family. But honestly, like,
what do you think about her like vows and like, I'm going to submit to you, and this prospect of her potentially being like a stay-at-home mom and that kind of thing?
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting thing for me, to be honest. It's kind of like, obviously, being in the world that I am in, I sit here and think, you know, like, do you want to go to school? Like, do you want to, like, what is it that you want to do? Like, you know, there's got to be more to this. But it's like, at the same time, I don't see her unhappy. Like, she seems so happy to want to do these things that she wants to do and be that kind of a person. And yeah, people can sit here and say, oh, it's because she's in a cult and they tell her to be like that and blah, blah. Like I said, when I think of somebody that's stuck in a cult, I feel like you can see pain in their eyes and you can see those things. And I just don't see that with her.
Yeah, you know? I think with this cult though, that you're not going to see that in the girls, because they're taught not to have like negative feelings, thoughts, or emotions. And it's instructed to be like very cheerful. And she went through so much. I was looking at all of the stuff with the ATI and with the different conferences, and she was instructing biblical submission classes to girls. So it's, they're taught to be very cheerful. And I don't think you would see pain in her eyes.
Well, yeah, and I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, it's kind of like being someone that grew up around her and
Yeah.
know that girl and changed her diapers as a kid. You know what I mean? And grew. It's like when you have that moment to be think about it, when you have that degree of separation from you have this side of your family that is religious like this and is a part of this, and then you have the moment to go away to another side of the family that's not really like that at all, right? Like that would be your moment to say, hey, help me, I'm in this, or this is odd, this is kind of weird. And also remember that I was around those girls at a very young age as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, you would think that would have been their moment to be like, for us to kind of see through maybe some of that a little bit, or to notice something kind of concerning. And that just actually never happened. So like, I understand what you're saying is that they're taught to kind of not do that. But I would think that her having that separation between the two when she wanted it or needed it, or would have been the moment to kind of notice that something was off, and that moment just never happened, at least for me. I definitely don't think it did with my mother as well. That like the girls were ever in something that was culty, I guess, you know what I mean, for lack of a better word. Yeah,
that's good. So what is your sister like?
Katey?
Yeah,
such a dream, you know what I mean? Like honestly, she I would think, like, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Jed enough yet, but I would say, like, what a catch, you know what I mean? Like, she really is a good girl. She's a sweet girl. She's treats other people how she wants to be treated. I mean, she's just always been a bride of joy. She was a little stinker as a kid, you know what I mean? She was such a little brat when she was a baby, but she really grew up to be like a very strong woman. And so that's why, to be honest with you, I wouldn't jump into like an interview like this, to say, hey, let me share kind of with the world. But I want people to know that like Katey is not just some like dead soul behind her eyes that's like set. Like, she genuinely, to me, seems okay and seems happy. And if people don't want to hear me say that, then that's their own issue. It's like I can only go off what I'm being told and what I'm seeing in flesh with her. And I think she's really happy to be a part of Jed's life. And I think it goes the other way for him as well. And that's my main point of this, is that I don't want people to think my sister's trapped in something or that. And if she is trapped in something and that's really what's going on, she clearly has me and another side of the family that if she ever wanted to search for something else or leave or do anything like that. And I hate to use the word leave because it means like she's escaping something, but she has us here,
So yeah, and that's good. I mean, that's great. I think nobody wants like anyone to feel like these are good things to know about her. Like, she's a strong woman. She
is like the most like opinionated and strong-willed person. Like, to be honest, like she is probably more strong and opinionated than Jed is himself.
Really?
Like, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. People are like, oh, she's gonna have to do what he says and live this kind of life. Like, good luck, Jed. You know what I mean? Katey is a very strong, like, and I'll say like an independent woman. And she's really grown up to be that way. And she's always been that way. And she's made decisions for herself. I've seen her do that. She worked at a ministry in a prison in Florida, and she decided to do that on her own. And she went and did that. And she's made a lot of her own decisions. And so I really believe that this whole thing about being arranged and that kind of stuff, like nothing is out of Katey's control. She is making her own decisions and doing what she wants to do.
That's good.
She really is. And I feel like people are not going to believe me when I say that. Because
there's always going to be skeptics, and you just have to, and I think there's going to be critics of everything.
Sure.
And obviously, like, nobody that I've seen has said anything negative about her. There's just always the concern when the IBLP is involved. And
sure.
The Duggars themselves have their own set of issues. So yeah. You're saying like she's opinionated, she's very smart, she does her own thing. So after the wedding was all said and done, did you stick around for the reception or?
Yeah, I was there the whole time.
What was that like? Was there dancing?
No, it was a little bit more of a chill wedding, I would say. Like, when I think of wedding, I think of like, woo, like party and open bar.
I'm sure no alcohol, right?
No, there wasn't. Not a lot of dancing. It was sweet and it was short and sweet. I mean, it was pretty much like there was vows and then we all ate. And I mean, it was a more chill, like calm wedding. It wasn't how I normally pictured how a reception at a wedding would kind of go, but
yeah.
Everyone has their own,
Okay, the big question is the cows. What were the cows about? Where the heck was this wedding?
Yeah, I really don't know what the venue was called, but yeah, there were a lot of cows around in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on something when I was a kid. Let's not dive into that. Yeah, right. Yeah, I just think it was kind of like where the venue was. I mean, it was pretty, I mean, there was cows in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. If people want to think that's funny, then they can. Like, it's, yeah, for a second I was like, oh, there's cows, but it was beautiful. I mean, it was really pretty, and there just happened to be some cows in the background. And if you're into cows, then great.
People were just like laughing because there's like
I know
cows,
I saw a lot of funny stuff. There's like cows just walking by.
Yeah, while they're doing their vows. And...
I know. I'm like crying that Katie's getting married, and I look to the left, and there's like a cow.
Okay, did you meet any of the siblings?
Yeah, I met quite a few of them.
Did you meet any of their significant others?
I met Ginger and Jeremy. They were really nice. I actually was on the plane home with them because they live here. Yeah, like I got to meet, there's so many people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not familiar with everything. So to me, it was just like, hi. Like, I don't know any of your names.
Did you meet, okay, so the oldest sister is Jana. Did you meet Jana?
I don't think so, to be honest. I'm not sure. I didn't even know who was a Duggar and who wasn't. So like
there's
like
so
said,
many.
I didn't do it, and I didn't do enough research beforehand, like I probably should have. But usually there's like two brothers when there's a wedding, and there's a lot of them. But everybody that I met was very nice. You know what I mean? And
everyone's like, was Jill there? Did you meet Jill?
I think that I did. I think I remember a Jill. I was meeting a lot of people that day.
Jill and Derek, they are out of this world.
Yeah. If I were to see pictures, it would probably be better. But I think we had like a picture time, right? Where like they did pictures, we did pictures together. And I think I met a lot of them at that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like I said, there's just so many people.
I'm sure you met Jeremiah, his twin, right?
Yes, I did meet him.
Did you meet Jeremiah's girlfriend?
I didn't.
Oh.
I think I saw her. I think someone mentioning to me that was his girlfriend or something, but I didn't get the chance to meet her. No. Yeah, like I said, there was a lot of people.
There was a lot of people. How many people were in attendance, and why weren't they wearing masks?
I don't know. Some people were wearing masks. I was seeing some comments. I think during like the pandemic and during all this kind of stuff, even in my head, I was wondering, is this the best idea to do right now? But you know that some people have their own beliefs and how things go, and some people did have masks. Some people chose to wear them. Some they weren't. No one. They just never even brought the conversation up. But I will say that like tables were pretty spaced out. Not that was probably in their mind that it was for COVID, but people weren't necessarily like right in each other's grills. But yeah, maybe would have pushed the wedding back a little bit later during the pandemic. But I think that they were ready to get married.
Well, you know why?
Yeah. So.
Oh, you said they were dating for about a year.
Yeah, I think it was a little over a year that they met each other and like started dating. Like I said, they're really cute. Like they were really cute, and I was super supportive of it. And to end this, and I know I was gonna
say, like, what are your final thoughts about Katey, about Jed, about everything?
Yeah, like my final thoughts are like this interview with you. Like I obviously was like, hey, you know what? I would love to clear up some things because I read so much stuff and I don't want people thinking that, and to be honest, like Katey and like my side of family, like a lot of them probably might not even see the fact that I'm doing this interview with you. And some of them might actually get mad that I am. But I've received so many messages on Instagram and all these different things just saying like, how could you let your sister be a part of something like this? Like, how can you? And so I guess what I want to leave everybody is that like Katey's not trapped in something. And if she is trapped in something, even though I know that she's really not, she has somewhere to go. She has family behind her. She's happy. She's a strong woman. She makes her own decisions. And I really am happy for her and Jed. And I'm excited that Jed is a part of this family too. And based on what you're saying about their opinions about, the LGBTQ community and all this, like, shit, bro, like maybe me being a part of this will open some eyes up. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Like nobody.
And I'm happy to be that person if that's what it is, because I do have an insight on both. I was raised religious and I was raised in these different things, but I'm not that now. So I'm able to put myself into perspective.
I think this will be wonderful for Jed to be around a family that has some normalcy.
Yeah. And they really, as much as the TV and media and like everything tries to portray this family, like they're really not, like they don't, when you're around them in person, like they're not like that. You know what I mean? They don't seem like that. It doesn't seem a certain way. And even if people are saying, oh, well, they're not supposed to be like that because of this, like, bullshit, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has something that they're a part of, you know what I mean, in life. And me, I'm just as strongly opinionated about not being religious and not doing that. So who am I to judge them, and who are they to judge me? You know what I mean? I just want the world to know that Katey's happy. You know what I mean? And the family was nice to me, and they invited me back, and they were warm, and that's what people really need to know. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you had a chance to speak with me today.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to put stuff up.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for everything that you've shared. I'm really happy, and I think the audience is going to be excited to get a peek into who Katey is. And
yeah, she's a great person. They're a great family. Yeah, I just really wanted people to know, you know, that there's no pain there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
just don't read the comments.
Yeah, right. Just don't read the comments. All those pictures were genuine. Like, those smiles in the pictures were real smiles, you know? And so that's what I want the world to know.
How was their first kiss?
Oh man, well, you can tell it was their first. It was cute. It was really cute. You could tell they were waiting for it, for sure. Like I said, they're a really cute couple, and they're really happy to be together. And I think everyone's happy for them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
I have a full day of clients today. So
yes, go get that hair done.
It was so nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.